I decided I would get myself a little remote control so that the camera wouldn't shake. So that's where it all started. It was really knowing the landscape and going out at night locally, first of all, with my dear late mother-in-law's camera. So that's where it all really started.
That's great. And the Cambrian Mountains, I mean, we've got an area of Cambrian Mountains not too far from where I live, but where do they stretch to and from? I mean, are they from kind of Snowdonia all the way down to Carmarthenshire?
Yeah, they are from Snowdonia down to the Brecon Beacons. So just north of Carmarthen, in Carmarthenshire, you've got Brechfa and the Llanllwni Mountain area. And Llanllwni Mountain is one of those really dark places as you can go at night to take photographs. And the rest of the Cambrian Mountains then head north through the northern section of Carmarthenshire up through Ceredigion. Everybody try saying that, please.
Ceredigion.
That's it. All the way up through Ceredigion, and it pops into Powys, which is the county in the east of Wales, next to the border with England, and then it goes right up to the northern section of the Cambrian Mountains, which is where we start going towards a different landscape. And definitely a different accent as well. So you know when you've reached the northern Cambrian Mountains that the accent there really changes from where you had been originally in the south of the Cambrian Mountains, in the Brechfa, Carmarthenshire area. And that little photograph behind me there is of the northernmost section of the Cambrian Mountains. That's on the summit of Foel Fadian, which looks over Glaslyn Nature Reserve. It also looks over the Snowdonia National Park, Cader Idris and Snowdonia. And of course, that photograph was taken last year during the time we had the company of the comet Neowise.
I used to take my grandson back. He was at Aberystwyth University for 3 years, and I used to drive him back from Oswestry to Aberystwyth, and we used to go near a place, and I'm going to try and pronounce it. I'm going to get it wrong, aren't I?
Take your time now, right? Take your time.
Llanfair Cerinion.
Oh, Llanfair Cerinion. Yes, that's really in the northernmost section of the Cambrian Mountains. You're more or less going into the Berwyn Mountains area there. Famous for its UFO sightings many years ago.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
But that's the northern. If you draw a line more or less over from where that photograph behind me is, Delive, you would get over then up to Llanfair Cerinion and that area near Welshpool and so on.
Well, when I was driving back one night, we'd been to Aberystwyth to drop him off, and it was getting late. It was in the summer, and we were driving back, and I was coming back towards Llanfair Cerinion, but quite a way before that, we stopped for a meal at a big pub, and I can't remember the name of it. It's on an island, and then you head towards Welshpool. That's good, isn't it? I can do geography by pubs, but can never remember the names. And anyway, as we drove up the hill, we came over the hill, and I couldn't believe that I could see the Milky Way so clearly on this main road. And I actually stopped on this main road and was trying to take images of the Milky Way before cars came around the bend and went past. And I actually got a fair image of the Milky Way from this off this main road.
I'd love to see that photograph, Pete.
It's on my on the Flickr site.
Yeah, and if you don't remember where it was, I might be able to recognize the landscape around it as well. As you know, we've got 9 dark sky discovery sites in the Cambrian Mountains that created the Cambrian Mountains Astro Trail 2 years ago. And of course, all these have Milky Way status on them, because you can see the Milky Way more or less from every single village and every single town in the Cambrian Mountains. And of course, when most people go come home from work and close that front door, that's when people like me start going out to see where the Milky Way is, where Orion is, look for anything we can in the night sky. And of course, I'm constantly looking like this. If it's clear outside, I'm looking up. I keep the windows of our bedroom, not the windows, the curtains of our bedroom open. Not that not for people to see what we are getting up to at night, but so that I can get
steady. This is the family show.
So that I can see what's happening outside, and I just love it. Last night I went to sleep with the moon, which was great. It was she was looking at me through the side window of the house, and yeah, it was incredible. Just being able to see seeing the comet last year through the back window of our bedroom was incredible. And yeah, we live, and I live in a very important but also beautiful part of Wales, like I said, between the Brecon Beacons and Snowdonia National Park.
I mean, we hold an event every year called Solar Sphere. Obviously, we haven't been able to hold it this year due to the fact of the coronavirus. And I don't think we'll be holding it this year. We couldn't hold it last year. But that's at Bulthwells, next door to the Royal Showground. Did I say that right? Bulthwells? No. Go on.
Anyway, the fascinating link I have with your event was one of the nurses that looked after me in Gobowen Hospital 3 years ago. I mentioned I'd had a double hip replacement 3 years ago at the age of 48. And one of the nurses that was looking after me, I told her totally out of the blue that I was interested in going out at night and taking photography. And she came back the following day with one of your leaflets for the Solar Sphere event in Bulthwells.
Yeah,
very popular.
And I just wondered, Pete, if you know who that nurse is in the hospital in Oswestry, where I had my first hip done at least.
That'd be Gwyneth.
Well, no, it probably be.
He knows all the nurses.
I know all of them, but no, was it a nurse or was it a lady coming to take your blood?
Could have been taking my blood even.
Well, that'd be Sarah. That's my daughter, and she's the organizer.
No, yeah.
Wow.
Well, isn't that brilliant?
I
I've kept this story for quite a while, but it was incredible that somebody the following morning would come around and say, "Look, have a look at this. You've got to come to Bulthwells for the Solar Sphere." And of course, I do plan to come one day and definitely be part of what you're doing there, because it would
be great.
Certainly interest me. What a coincidence!
Did she try to sell the tickets? Did she try to sell you tickets, or
no,
just
it's
a
Sarah.
leaflet?
But Sarah's
very good at selling tickets.
When
And blood.
when Sarah was because she's on nursing research now, although they've drafted her back on the wards for the COVID thing to take. She's doing COVID research. But when she was on the wards just doing the blood, she'd actually got on her blood trolley Solar Sphere stickers on the front, posters on the front of her trolley. Fantastic. And I said, I was walking down the corridor behind her once, and you could see these people diving into doorways to get out the way of her. And I said, look at them. I said, they know you're coming. They know what you're going to be doing, trying to sell them tickets. So they're all diving into doorways. Going everywhere. But yes, Sarah will. It would have been Sarah. That would have been.
I think Sarah was her name. You're right.
I remember her saying to me, "We got a guy on one of the wards. He's had a hip replacement." I remember this. She said, and he's interested in astrophotography. Do you know him? And I said, "What's his name?" And she said, "I think it's You'll have to pardon her. She said, David." So,
that's okay. That's a good name. Yeah.
So I said, no. I said, well, what's his second name? She says, I can't remember. I said, well, I don't know. I said, it could be anybody.
3 years ago now.
But yeah, it would be, because that's when she was last on the wards doing the blood. So
what a coincidence.
Yeah.
Eh?
But yeah, so coming back to Cambrian Mountains, you've got plenty of hostelries and B&Bs, I would imagine, across the mountain, the Cambrian Mountains. And I would imagine a fair few are located in prime spots to stop to go out and do astrophotography.
Yeah, we've worked with nearly 100 businesses who are in the vicinity or on the Cambrian Mountains Astro Trail. We're talking here about little cafes, little restaurants, bistros, tea rooms, so that the experience for anybody who's interested in the dark skies can actually start early in the afternoon, so they can get to know the landscape during the day, and that's important because you don't want to be going into a landscape which you don't know or recognize or even feel safe during the night, because we have in Wales an important scheme called Be Adventure Smart. So if you hashtag Be Adventure Smart, you'll see we've got a campaign to try and get people far more prepared and plan for daytime as well as nighttime activities. So therefore, working with these local hostelries like you've mentioned is important part of them recognizing how important the night sky is to them and how important dark skies are, and also eventually they'll understand how important minimizing light pollution in the Cambrian Mountains is, because it would be detrimental to their business if there was an increase in light in little communities, villages and towns over the next 5, 10, 20 years, because it's a natural asset which we want to protect. And it's one of the final pollutions, I suppose, that we've got on planet Earth, and definitely in rural locations such as the Cambrian Mountains. You mentioned Aberystwyth there, where we do get a bit of light pollution coming from Aberystwyth, especially on a relatively misty or cloudy night. There's a bit of a glow coming from Aberystwyth. So the deeper you go into the Cambrian Mountains, the less of that glow there is in the night sky. And given that we've now got this Cambrian Mountains Astro Trail, we've got places that people can go and stay, such as glamping pods or bed and breakfasts. We've got campsites, we've got hotels, and you can just step out of some of these places and all of a sudden you've got the greatest show on Earth, from Earth, on your doorstep. And I don't think people would have always recognized the importance of the night sky. Businesses haven't recognized the importance of the night sky for being an attraction, really, for their business, for their future, for their current and future guests and visitors. It is really wow when you get outside and you can go to a bridge, or you can go to an edge of a lake or a reservoir safely, of course, but also see the Milky Way, the International Space Station passing over, and start recognizing some of the celestial properties of the night sky. So educating local businesses is important, and we have been drafting in Dark Sky Wales to try and provide some sort of education at a simple, basic level, because we don't want to frighten anybody off. We want to encourage people to admire, recognize, and appreciate the night sky, and how important it is for the local community, but also for the business community as well.
I mean, when you look at a night sky map of the UK, you can see how dark that area is, because you can see the band of light stretching up, Hereford up to Shrewsbury, goes around in a curve, Chester across Llandudno, Colwyn Bay, and that. But that section in the middle there is totally dark, and you can see that from.
I think apart from the tip of Penllyn, the arm that sticks out to the side of the Welsh map, as it were, the Llyn Peninsula, Penllyn, I think there's a little tip there that is just as dark as the Cambrian Mountains. There we are. We've got a map there now from Dave, showing. Well, Dave, you can show where the Cambrian Mountains is there for me.
He's trying.
That's Pembrokeshire, that is. A little bit more, Dave. Hiya, Dave.
Hiya. Dave, that's Dublin.
Across a bit again. But definitely, there are amazing parts of Wales. Like I said last night, I've never been to the Elan Valley, which is an international dark sky park. I've never been there to take photographs. I've travelled back, lucky to have the camera and the tripod in the boot of the car, but I've never actually gone there to take photographs. And given that it's an international dark sky park, I feel really quite a bit of a fraud that I've never been there, but I've been to all the other places, which is where less people go to. I know that the Elan Valley Dark Sky Park is popular, but there are other areas in the Cambrian Mountains with communities. Like I said, starting in the Brechfa forest area and heading north then up to each and every one of them. And some of them are really remote, where the two hostels are of Dol Goch and Tyn y Cornel. Those places really, you can't see your hand. In fact, it's so dark in that part of the Cambrian Mountains, you can't even feel your hand. It is really a dark place. And you think to yourself, well, there's nothing here but darkness and what I can see with my naked eye. And of course, the luxury then is that you have your camera, you've got the settings on the camera, and the minimal light pollution coming into the deepest part of the Cambrian Mountains. That's what the camera gives you when it takes the photograph. It really can get the features out of the night sky. And often I go places and I hear a click of a twig on the ground behind me, and I was thinking, is somebody else here? Who else would be here? Let alone is somebody else here? So I know I do get scared sometimes, and I've left my car unattended with the door open and ran to somewhere I wanted to be to take a photograph of what I wanted to take, and I was thinking, was that my car door shutting? Or what's that? What's that light coming down to my car? Is my car in the way? And I'm normally about 2 or 3 miles away from the car, thinking, is nobody else going to come up here tonight? So when you know the area and you think, well, there's nobody else going to come here tonight, I can do whatever I want. I can leave my car door open. I can leave the boot open. I can walk away, but sometimes somebody will turn up out of the blue or out of the black, as the case would be around here.
But I can associate it about being so dark. Me and Sib went when I used to live up in the West Midlands in the Black Country. There's no darkness there. It's just light constantly. And we went on holiday to a dark location like that. And I'd had a few, well, let's just say I'd had a lot of wine to drink. And she found me having a panic attack on the floor in the night because I was putting my hand to my face and I couldn't see it. And I was convinced I'd gone blind because I got this raging headache from the drink. And I thought I got some sort of illness and I'd gone blind, and she was trying to pacify me. And I was in hysterics on the floor going, I've gone blind, I can't see. So I can understand how dark it can be.
One story I didn't say last night, which I can keep now for tonight. You can have an exclusive. But when my daughter started appreciating what I was doing, she said, can I come out tonight? Because we were going out to see the Perseid meteor shower. And we went as far away as we could from the town of Tregaron. And we drove up. It was a private track, which I'm allowed to get access to. And within an hour of being there, red lights setting up, and then we put blankets on the floor because we were lying like this, waiting to see the meteors in the sky. All of a sudden, this blue light was coming in the distance towards us, getting closer, and the blue light was filling the sky. I was thinking, well, it's an ambulance, And the light then was getting closer, and it was zigzagging all the way up the road we'd driven. And there we were, lying on our backs. My daughter and myself, we were waiting there, and the police car pulled up right in front of us. And try explaining that. Little blanket on the floor, try explaining that. And I said, honestly, officer, we are out stargazing tonight. We're waiting for the meteor shower. Somebody had seen the red lights of our torches flashing from the top of the hill and got worried and had phoned the police saying, we think there's something happening that shouldn't be happening on top of the hill behind our house. And they left us alone. I said, all you need to do is to phone the owner of the land and the track and ask him, is there 2 people on your land tonight? And they say, yes, it's Dafydd and his daughter.
So, aliens then.
The trials and tribulations of introducing the young people to the night sky.
Well, what I'm going to do, I'll come back to you in a little bit. Actually, we'll do this first, and then the other chaps can ask you a few questions. Alan, is it Alan Wallace?
Alan Wallace, yeah.
Yeah, he's been on Astro Radio. We did a show earlier on in the lockdown called Lock In at the Locked In. And Alan came on to talk all about his photography. And I found him he was a little bit shy at first, but he is one excellent photographer, isn't he?
Yeah. If you could have a piece of his brain implanted inside yours, you know, if I could have had bits of Gareth Edwards implanted in my brain as a child, that's the kind you know you always have heroes in life, and normally they have always been older than you. But I'd say Alan is much younger than I am, maybe 15, 20 years younger than I am. And to think that my hero now, because of my interest in the night sky, is Alan. It's just, I remember seeing him. I showed the photograph last night of all those grumpy people in a meeting discussing the dark skies of the Cambrian Mountains and the Ellen Valley. And I hadn't realized that this person was there, and somebody said to me, do you know that Alan Wallace was in this meeting tonight? And because I hadn't really immersed myself in the community of dark skies and astrophotography, Alan Wallace at the time meant nothing to me. Until then, you went and Googled his name, and boom, all of a sudden, Alan Wallace was there. And I was thinking, well, I want to go where he's been. I want to be like that. And of course, Alan asking me to go out to Tenerife last year as part of my 50th birthday celebrations was just a privilege, really. And working with him to create that little film we showed you last night. Again, that film, by the way, you can see on the website. Yeah. Love Me. Alan really put that together quite quickly. In fact, within the 3 hours of my second hip operation, he'd put a little compilation together. So Alan, like I said, different to some Welsh people, Alan is quiet and shy. He's done several little star parties for us and presentations, and you can hear a pin drop when he's talking, because he's got that quiet passion as opposed to maybe what I have.
It was so funny because we have another fella coming called John McLean. He does talks on cruise ships around the world, and he said he was sitting at a table on this cruise ship one night chatting to this guy who did photography, and he turned out to be Alan. And he said, and we were both sitting there, and he said, and we both at the same time said, have you been on Astro Radio? He said, we're going around the Caribbean. He says, and I meet a guy out of the blue, he said, on a cruise ship. And he said, we've both been on Astro Radio. So I thought that was quite funny. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to let the rest of the guys ask you a few questions, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Pete.
As long as it's not an interrogation.
Oh, no, it wouldn't be that.
Oh, there goes the interrogation questions then. Damn. Never mind. Let's stick with the sense of humour questions, shall we? Hi, Dafydd. It's lovely to see you again. We had a lovely day yesterday, or lovely afternoon, the Allen Valley Astro presentation we did. And that's still available on YouTube if you go to Peter's radio channel. We can watch all those videos that we were talking about. I'm heading to retirement in the coming year. I'm going to get myself a camper van. That's my plan. And I can't wait to get out to the deeper, darker skies out in Wales. I've only ever been on the outskirts. In Liverpool, we don't get those clear, dark skies as you have. And we tend to travel 30 to 50 mile, just get a decent sky. So I'll pronounce it incorrectly, and I do apologise. Lynn Brenig, Lynn Allen, whatever. Plenty of places on the outer skirts there, and it's great just to see the Milky Way without struggling. Other than that, we had to travel out to the hills up in Yorkshire or out to Norfolk even. So it's not easy to see the stars where I am, but in those dark sky sites, and you say you got 9 dark sky sites, I'd be happy with just half of one of those, just to be able to see that Milky Way without struggling. I'm thinking of the Star in Powys, is that correct? Powys?
Yes, Star in Dafydd. Like I said last night, it's a 16th century pub. It's fantastic food, wonderful owners. But this is a bit of an exclusive for you.
Discount for Astro Radio, yeah?
No, this is exclusive. Now, it's for sale.
Oh,
So how about buying a pub?
yeah.
We could all pitch in here.
Yeah.
I'm up for that.
Buy a pub.
You live in Spain. You can't. You're Europe.
I want to.
Buy a pub, and it's got a dark sky discovery site in the car park.
Whoa.
Right next to it.
We'd never get anyone saved in the bar, though, would we?
And you've got it's called the Star Inn as well. Anybody who's interested who's interested in stargazing, it's in the middle of a former lead mining community. It's like I said, it's between Machynlleth and Llanidloes. It's right in the middle of the Cambrian Mount, the northern section of the Cambrian Mountains. It's on a road that is often shut because of snow, and it's got wonderful history and heritage. It's on the Glyndŵr Way as well. So the Star Inn is one of the places I will be going to first when the travel restrictions in Wales are lifted.
Quite. Well, it was the first one that drew my attention, I've got to be honest, because the name of it was a Star Inn, and the images that you showed yesterday, it was that beautiful Milky Way over the rooftop. And I just thought, ooh, that looks good. And it's got a bar and it's got accommodation, and I like it.
Accommodation. We've held a star party there with Alan Wallace a couple of years ago. But we also with the Dark Sky Wales, with Martin Griffiths and Alan Trow, they organise dark sky experiences not far from the pub in a field full of wigwams, and these are wooden glamping pods, which or 6 of which there are in the field, and you step outside of these little glamping pods, and there you have in front of you all these stars, and it's the perfect venue really for a dark sky experience organised by the wonderful Dark Sky Wales people. And we probably need more activities now like that in the future. I'm sure people are starting to plan now to have maybe 3 locations, top, middle, and in the southern part of the Cambrian Mountains, that people can go to these events. And one of the comments last night, Pete, are you still listening?
Yeah.
Good lad. One of the comments last night was that came through to us was, we have lots of little establishments that can only take sometimes 2, 3, 4 people. And the idea that came through from last night's event was that we could cluster together accommodation providers and hold an event, Dark Skies event, that was central to maybe 5, 6 or 7 venues, so that it would make the most then of the number of people who could stay in that little catchment area. Because whilst quite a few of these events are held where quite a few people can stay, that could mean that the smaller type accommodation could miss out. So we wanted to try and be as inclusive as possible. So that came out, that's an idea that came through our emails this morning, just on the fact that there was somebody watching last night thinking, well, how can we have a dark sky event on our venue where we can only have 4 people staying here? It just wouldn't pay its way. But I got speaking with that business owner and said, well, you've also got in your catchment area 4 other places. Let's bundle together with them and get some more people into an event that could be organised.
Sounds a good idea. Well, the local community's happy with the idea of the astronomy groups coming in.
Oh yes, they are. We've worked with the 9 communities. In fact, we had to work with them. We had to have their seal of approval for getting the dark sky discovery status in the first instance. We had to work with the landowners. Not all of them are private. Some of them are public owned land, such as car parks and forest woodlands, etc. So it's gathering momentum. We had to start somewhere. This is a natural asset, and a natural asset we want to try and protect and prosper from, because there are lots of businesses who could benefit from this. And we did a survey. I think I've got the post-it here. Actually, we did a survey that in the 2 years we've been doing this Astro stuff, by now 89% of the Cambrian Mountains accommodation providers have heard of the Astro Trail. So that's an important fact. 57% of people who come to these accommodation come because of the dark skies. So that's a good start as well. Maybe we come back in 2 or 3 years' time and ask the same 100 businesses and see if that has increased. And 73% mention Cambrian Mountains dark skies on their websites. Again,
excellent.
That would have been zero about 2 or 3 years ago. So it's taking time. It's bringing people together. I just hope we haven't hung our coat too long on the same hook, if you know what I mean. It's a case of there's so much more in the Cambrian Mountains. Imagine really if you just came here for the nights, which is great, but also during the day, the landscape is totally different. So you can have 2 holidays for the price of one. And what I tell businesses is I think the Cambrian Mountains look better at night than they do by day. And when it's clear, when the stars and the constellations and everything else is happening, I think you can see more during the night than you can in the day, especially when you think that most days are cloudy in the Cambrian Mountains. So I just think come at certain times of the year where it's cold, crisp and clear. When one day people will be allowed to come, one day people will be allowed to travel to the Cambrian Mountains. I just hope that we will be ready to welcome them. I've got a lot of posting out of of mugs.
Oh, we like.
I've got my mug.
I'm telling you now, right? If people do come to the Cambrian Mountains in the next 2 or 3 years, I'll make sure there's a mug waiting for you as long as you tell me where you're staying. And we do have the list of quality assured places to stay on the website above us here.
That's www.thecambrianmountains.co.uk.
So if you are coming to the Cambrian Mountains, you can start planning your visit now. You can't come at the moment. One day you will be allowed to come to the Cambrian Mountains. There will be a big welcome here. Those stories last night I mentioned about those people who approached me when I was watching the comet, they are true. But not everybody is like that.
I'll tell you what, Dafydd, I didn't want to go, but your enthusiasm just spills over and I'm going now. That's it. You've sold it, mate. That's it.
Well, it's strange really, because when I do go out, and I probably go out, I go out when it's clear, and I have been known to go out just in my pajamas. Last night I showed a photograph of Aled the snowman and me on the peak behind, and I was actually in my pajamas there because I thought nobody's going to know, nobody's going to be up there, and up I went in my pajamas, put a nice warm down jacket on, and knew I wanted to take a photograph of that snowman under the moonlight. So you can't just, I do just go out when it's clear, and I might drive up to the Star Inn, and I have done, just on the hope of it being clear up there, just because it's clear down here, and then roll into work the following morning. Not always in my pajamas, thankfully.
You always get changed first.
they would notice. They would notice that, wouldn't they?
I think so. A bit odd.
Especially as one of the buttons is missing.
Oh, right.
that would be very risky going to a board meeting.
Note to listeners, he does mean on the pyjama jacket, of course.
Yes,
on the pyjama jackets.
Of course.
Okay, Pete, we're going to go over to a couple of questions. I think, Kath, you have a question for Dafydd?
Yeah, I'm guessing it'll probably be on the website, but I often travel as a solo single traveller. So obviously being in the mountains might not be ideal for me by myself. And you're saying that there are sometimes events organised, like group events and things. So
yeah,
I'm guessing that would be more suitable for somebody like me who probably shouldn't roam the mountains by herself.
You'll be pretty safe, I think, by the look of you. I think they'd steer clear of you,
Oh,
especially
now don't you stop.
unless you brought that pillow, which you're showing. They might take a fancy to that, actually. You can distract them with your pillow or whack them across the head. We have got events. Dark Sky Wales hold events across the year. What I'll do, Kath, is I'll try and get the link to you of the Dark Sky Wales events held in the Cambrian Mountains. In fact, they hold several of their events in that field with the glamping pods near the Star Inn pub. As well as that, the Ellen Valley people in the International Dark Sky Park, they normally hold events. They could be a variety of events to do with nature at night, stargazing, using binoculars, etc., etc. One of the best things about the dark sky element is that you've got the sunset leading up to it, and I would definitely recommend finding somewhere in the Cambrian Mountains to watch that sunset. That is in itself will send shivers down your spine, and you'll think to yourself, well, how can it get better? How can it get better than that? And then all of a sudden you go into twilight, you eat your sandwiches, you have a bit of hot chocolate, maybe a bit of gin. I know you, Kath, you like a gin, don't you?
Tell you what, gin.
Love
The world knows you.
But be careful, okay? Because I wouldn't recommend gin on top of a mountain.
No.
Definitely, you've got to be adventure smart. Please be adventure
Always
smart.
lie down first, Kath. That's the best.
you got.
And then you've got that dark night element of the night, unless you've got a bit of a moon. Tonight now we're in twilight at the moment. It's going to be dark for a few hours, and then bang, we can have this moonlight filling the landscape, which for some is good, but for others not so good. So yeah, I would recommend that. And also the element, you could do what you want to do during that darkness. Go back to your glamping pod, go back to your bed and breakfast, but try and make an effort to get up early in the morning to get that sunrise as well. That's the full package. You know, that's the triple crown of the experience in the Cambrian Mountains. You've got the sun setting and everything that happens around that. Walking down the mountain in the dark, head torch, beautiful, take your time. Every step is important. And then you've got the night sky, the astrophotography, the astronomy element. Then in the morning, really get up early. When I say get up early, you don't have to get up as early as you need to at certain times of the year, because of course you've got sun. This morning's sunrise now was spectacular. The colors, they don't last long, but if you can get high up, you've got the full landscape in front of you and this beautiful purple, pink, blue morning. Sometimes with the clouds. Couple of weekends ago, there I was waiting for sunrise on a peak behind my house. I cycled all the way up to it with full camera kit, and I was taking photographs, and the sunrise was just phenomenal. So that's the full experience, really, that you really want to take home with you.
Sounds pretty exciting, doesn't it?
If you've got the kit, the photography kit, plus the outdoor clothing as well, because it can be warm, it can be cool, it can be really freezing. In my index finger here, I know I've been to real cold places across the world, the Himalayas, the Alps, the Caucasus Mountains a couple of years ago before my hip replacement. This finger really suffers at night, especially when you try to be as ambidextrous as possible with the camera and with the kit and so on.
I've just got a message in from Stefan. He's just outside of Moscow. He said, Dafydd, you sold it him. He's coming over. And he said, but he's only coming over if Kath goes with him. He says, because from what is the description, he says, I think I'll feel safe with Kath.
I'm getting an international reputation. Oh my
yes,
goodness.
yes.
You'll have the KGB looking after you now, you won't.
Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, I am a Wolverhampton lass born and bred.
Yes, Kath is, I was just going to say, as Dafydd said, be adventure prepared. I would advise you to take some dressmaker's scissors, because I understand there's lots of gentlemen wandering around the Cambrian Mountains in their pajamas with strategic buttons missing. So be warned.
I will carry my emergency seamstress kit with me. I'm very practical. I'm very practical.
Just hope it's cold.
You try threading the eye of the needle in the middle of the night.
I'll have it ready. Don't you worry. I'll have it. There's that motto of be prepared, isn't there? So I can do that. So would you recommend those glamping pods then that you're talking about? Are they in a location where you can kind of just step out and see stuff without having to go too far?
Yes, that's the kind of accommodation you should be looking for. Quite a few of many of the accommodation that we have, you can step outside and see it all. All of a sudden, it's there. We try to work with communities, community councils, to ensure that the lights are bad in a good way, that they're all pointing down, that they've got shields around them as well. It's incredible. You can be in a little village. I'll use a classic Brechva village. It's a small village, got quite a bit of light in there, but you just step away from the street lights and all of a sudden you can't see your hand. It is so dark. Wow. It's so black there, and that's what we have here. The accommodation, we're trying to educate them. Like I said, there's 89% heard of the Astro Trail. Some of them are asking what binoculars to buy. Some of them are asking what telescopes to buy, what apps to use. So from Pete, are you still with us?
I'm
running.
Woke
him up. He's just woke you up. There's the.
I'm running a radio.
From last night, we had a question about what apps should anybody who's running a business have to help their visitors, so that they could go out and point things to them, because most of these, barely know the difference between the sun and the moon, I suppose, because sometimes in Wales we don't know what the difference is between the sun and the moon. We're just happy to see one of them, really, let alone the other one. But these apps that help people, that you can point into the sky, those are crucial, really, and a big game changer to try and get people interested, because everybody now really has got one of these little smartphone things, and you download the app. Most of them are free, and all of a sudden you can start planning and preparing. It's all about a little journey, a little adventure, really, that people can buy, can go to, and can be part of, and those memories will stay with you for a very long time.
I think at this point we're going to go over to Peter. I'm going to put a track on one of those 78s, I think, one of those 78 RPMs.
Yeah. Find a 78 out.
It'll be all in the middle, and about this time it's a year.
We'll be coming back to the chat in the chat room in a little while, straight after this track, which is Rudy Axelpel and Northern Lights.
Dafydd, you were talking about phones.
We'll be back. Yes.
Another pint of gin.
She's gone for a pint of gin.
She's gone to actually book her glam pod.
Yeah.
And get a mug ready as well, I think. So.
I've got a message from Dafydd.
I can hear you. She's just on the phone to a relative. No, I can hear you, so be good while I'm gone. I'll be back in a moment.
There's not much chance of that.
Dafydd, message in from Jane. She's over in Los Angeles, and she said,
Hi, Jane.
I'm sure she'll probably send me a message back in a sec. Anyway, she said, if we come over to the Cambrian Mountains when it's safe to do so, She said, are there people in the Cambrian Mountains area that can teach them not just about night sky photography, but about terrestrial photography at all? Are there people there that they can kind of get access to show them the way, if you like?
Yes, there's tutors and providers of photography skills that for daytime as well as nighttime in the Cambrian Mountains. Tell Jane that she's welcome to contact us through the website, and we can provide her with as much information to support her planning of coming to the Cambrian Mountains of Wales. That's one thing that we pride ourselves in doing is sharing of information and the knowledge that we have of this wonderful part of Wales.
She just sent me a message back, and she said, thanks for the shout out. And she said, we came to Wales quite a few years ago. She says probably 20 years ago. We came to Snowdonia, she said, but we didn't venture any further south of Wales than that. She said, we stopped for a few days in London, and then we headed up to Snowdonia, stopped in Snowdonia, walked up Snowdonia, and then headed back down to London and back to the US. So she said it'd be nice to be able to go into the different regions of Wales and this Cambrian Mountains area. She said, it sounds absolutely amazing. And she said, it's you're very infectious. She says, and your accent, she said, is just amazing. I could imagine she said just amazing. But
I sometimes think what kind of accent I have, because I have family from really South Wales. I have family from the Cambrian Mountains, north of South Wales. I have some elements from North Wales as well. And I sometimes think, what if I was in a room of people who could recognise accents, where would they think I would be from in Wales?
Now,
I've been to parts of the world before now, and people have said I'm from Scotland. So, and I can't see me wearing a kilt. I can see me wearing pajamas outside, but not a kilt.
No, I mean,
you should worry. A lot of Spanish people seem to think I'm Australian for some peculiar reason.
Well, I could get that. Yeah, there's a slight.
There's something there. There's a bit of an Australian tone in your voice, I have to say. But I would say, Dafydd, if it was, for me, for being a non-Welsh person, and if I had to say where I thought you came from, I would have said the valleys.
Oh, that's it. Well, that's quite a few people, and when I go abroad and I meet English people, they automatically think I'm from the valleys, and then obviously that's probably my father's influence, coming from the Rhondda Valley down in South Wales, Treorchy, Tonypandy, Tonerefail, all those mining communities in South Wales. But he met my mother back in the 1960s, and she was from Ceredigion, Cardiganshire as it was called then. And of course, the combination of being raised by mum and dad has created this accent. My brother, strangely enough, who lives in Cardiff, sounds a little bit different to me. So you wouldn't say that we were brothers just from going on our accents. His accent has gone very Cardiff, and he's all down there, down Pine of Dark in the park. The dark sky, the dark park.
Where do you,
You're not from Liverpool.
where do you actually live, Andy?
Andy's trying to get in there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andy.
No, sorry, mate. Where do you actually live, David?
I live in a town called Tregaron.
Oh, I know where that is.
And it's just south of Aberystwyth, so it's inland. And we Tregaron people can benefit from both the Cardigan Bay of Ceredigion as well as the Cambrian Mountains of Ceredigion. And like I said last night, the Cambrian Mountains is made up of 3 counties. So it's the Carmarthenshire County, the Powys County, which is next to Shropshire, as well as the county of Ceredigion. So I could be geographically in the centre of the Cambrian Mountains, with a little bit north of me and a little bit south. And strangely enough, a quote from last year said, "There's in Wales, there's 3 parts to Wales. There's North Wales, there's South Wales, and then there's Tregaron." so I'll let you try and work that one out, really, because we have some sort of regionality here, quite different. There's a lot of myth and legends related to people from Cardiganshire, that they're very creative, but also quite creative with their minds and their bank balances as well. So if you understand that, you know what I mean. Cardiganshire people swim like this. and it's true. If you go walking with a person from Cardiganshire, and that person is hungry, he will eat the food from his pocket without you knowing. So he could peel a tangerine in his pocket and eat it bit by bit without offering you any of the tangerine. Honestly, I've seen it happening. Somebody from Cardiganshire will open a Mars bar on a Monday and finish it on the Friday.
I think before we get letters of complaint from the Welsh National Authorities,
so if you go down Cardiganshire and look out for men with a bit of bulges in their pockets on Monday, that bulge will have gone down by Friday because they'll have eaten their Mars bar.
I've just had a message from John. John's a lecturer at Aberystwyth University. He's listening.
Hi, John.
He just said, he says it's absolutely true. He said I can have a pork pie in my pocket on a Monday. He says I'll still be eating on a Friday and you won't know.
We should point out to our listeners that other Welsh counties are available.
And other chocolate bars as well.
Well, should we get back to astronomy then, shall we? Right, I'm going to bring Ron in to have a chat with he's got his Milky
outside. There might be some time.
Well, I can see the Milky Way straight away there, no problem at all. The Milky Way
skies
chocolate
are
bar.
clear.
That's
All the
a small
chocolate
one,
bars are available. Right, Dafydd, let's bring Ron in. Ron, as I've known Ron for many years now, he's always been an avid walker out on the Welsh Hills and the Lake District and so on. So I'm going to pass on to Ron and have a chat. Okay, Ron?
Thanks, Dave. Hi, Dafydd.
Hi, Ron.
I've had Dave's right. I've done a lot of hill walking, mostly in Snowdonia, a bit in the Barewinds. But I live in Shropshire. I'm only 1 mile from the Welsh border. And the last few months, the weather has been diabolical. So the obvious question is, what are my odds of a nice clear sky on my sojourn into mid-Wales?
You're talking mid-Wales now. You've gone very vague there, haven't you? I can't.
Okay, the Cambrian Mountains.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Did you say Cambrian Mountains or mid-Wales?
Cambrian Mountains.
Okay. Well, Ron Bach, there's several apps you can use to plan your visit according to the weather, and you're probably familiar with many of these apps. We've got also, if you tune your television into Welsh television, BBC Wales, you probably get it there from where you live. You'll find we've got very beautiful men and women who can give us the weather forecast. I don't know if you've got beautiful men and women in your part of the world there, but have a look at the weather.
We have Scouse accents where we are.
Have a look at the weather, Ron, and see what it's going to be like. The best way to determine whether it's going to be clear is by looking outside, stepping outside the house. You're normally going to be looking for some high pressure, no real weather systems coming in. Some of the great acts of the weather that happen when it's clear is we get these cloud inversion, temperature inversions in the valleys, which can add something to the night sky, especially if you've got a moon. But certainly use as much technology as you can, but keep it basic to the point where you just have to look out and think, well, yeah, I might drive an hour in the hope that it's going to be clear in the Cambrian Mountains. But know where to go as well, because you might end up in a valley which is covered in mist or a temperature inversion, and you could carry on up out of that valley, and all of a sudden you're above the mist or the cloud.
On a practical note, if I was to go glamping, which is not something I've done, and at the moment I'm fairly new to digital astrophotography, so my kit is at the moment is constrained to needing to be plugged in, as I haven't yet got portable power. So does glamping give me all the mod cons to be able to just plug in and go?
These glamping pods are high-tech glamping pods by now. There's no point anybody going too basic with that glamping pods. The ones I've visited over the last few years, as part of my day-to-day work, they do have Wi-Fi, they do have USB ports, they've got sockets, they've got lights, they've got television, but also you can find yourself being off-grid in some of these places, and you might need to take your own little charging units, and just to make sure that you want to charge anything that needs charging overnight. But more often than other, these glamping pods, and you know, the clue is there. It's a bit of glamp in the camp, and therefore they will offer you the electrical services that you require to do any of your charging, Ron.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, Roger, have you got anything you want to ask or chat about?
I need to say that I don't know if David's aware that Alan's in Turkey at the moment, and he's staying there at the moment for a while, and he's been doing some of his observations from there, and we had a talk from our local camera club a few weeks ago, and unfortunately his broadband wasn't that good, so he kept breaking up. But obviously we've had him a few times, and like yourself, we are quite impressed with his style of photography.
Yeah, yeah. I got a message from Alan yesterday. Totally devastated that we couldn't go last June out to Tenerife. He sowed the idea in my mind, and I said, yes, count me in. I'm 50 this year. Please give me a chance, and we're really looking forward to it. For me, it would be like training with Gareth Edwards back in the 1970s, running on the pitch and passing the ball back and forth with Gareth Edwards back in the 70s. So to get the chance to go with Alan out to Tenerife, or anywhere really, to spend time with him, because he's got a head full of knowledge. He's quite approachable, and I'm very comfortable with being in his presence as well. And he's done a lot for us here in the Cambrian Mountains. In a very small amount of time, he has done quite a bit for us. So we look up to him because of what he's achieved and the level of achievement he's got to over the last 3 or 4 years. And he's quite prominent on the BBC here in Wales. I see several of you've got moon images behind you there, but he did do a big moon shoot not that long ago as part of a BBC programme.
Yeah, celebrate the 50th anniversary.
For the 50th anniversary of the landing on the moon. So that was incredible. And it's just great to be in his company, really, whether it's virtual like this, or in person when you've got him in a room. And we've done 2 star parties together, and we've always done them in the Morecambe and Wise style, really. I've been, as you can guess, the Eric Morecambe of the double act, and dressed up strangely, and he's been poker faced, serious, a little bit more scientific, more scientific approach than I have. So sometimes you need that combination and that difference when you've got 2 characters on stage or standing in front of an audience.
Yeah, that picture behind me is taken from my back garden. So I get some pretty good skies, and I can see the Milky Way quite well from here, but obviously be far better from the Cambrian Mountains.
Where are you located, Roger?
I'm sort of 20 miles sort of southwest of Bath.
Oh, right.
So it's a pretty good area around where we are, and there are a few sites that myself and fellow astronomer Sandy Wetton, we go out to other sites, and we've been down to Durdle Door and down on the coast there to do some photography, but it gets a bit restricted at the moment. So looks like a visit to Wales then.
It does. It does. What we're going to do now, we're going to go to a couple of tracks, so we can gain our thoughts, and we'll come back to any questions from Dave, if you don't mind. And you're welcome, David, you're welcome to stick around for the questions if you so wish, if you can answer them.
I will. It's cloudy at the moment.
Is it?
Yeah. I have arranged to go down to this little lake tonight.
Yeah.
To try and get some shots of the moon coming through the trees that surround this lake. So we'll see how
I mean, looking at the weather, there was a big band of rain coming in, wasn't there? So I don't know whether it was going to.
It's not looking as good as last night.
Yeah, we'll give it a miss then, I think, tonight.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go over to a couple of tracks now, and the first one is Buckcherry's version of Highway Star.
Guys, can I just ask, is this show going out on YouTube? Because a friend of mine's just messaged and said, can we see tonight's show on YouTube?
On playback, I think, is it?
Is it playback? Is it?
And Peter usually uploads it about midnight after we finish.
Oh, it doesn't go live on YouTube.
Peter uploads it then. It's not live as such.
No, he's got to edit, Kath.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought so. I wasn't sure.
Hopefully
Well,
not.
we get a bit raucous.
Needs it probably.
Well, I'm monitoring. I don't think we said anything out of board. I think we're doing very well.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to bring Daz in next if you wanted to chat with Dafydd. We could do that straight afterwards and then do any questions.
No problem. Yeah.
Okay, and let's just we go to the questions. The last couple of shows we didn't get a chance to do our questions, but if you're up for it, Andy and Daz, I know you're pretty good on the astrophysics side. What is dark matter? What is dark energy? What came before the Big Bang? Isn't that obscure?
Okay, so there's 3 2-hour lectures.
Yeah. You can make it 5 minutes per question.
I can tackle those if you like, or at least 2 of them.
Well, between you, Daz, and Ron, if you wish, and Roger, if you come in on that.
Yeah, because you did dark energy the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, but
Andy?
No, I didn't.
Just do a quick recap on dark energy.
I can't remember.
Yeah, you did on this week in space. Yeah,
we did cover that one. Yeah. Okay, well, maybe just do a slight hint of dark energy, and then dark matter.
Dark energy.
Dark matter, dark energy. What came before the Big Bang?
Yeah.
Nothing until time was invented.
Yeah.
And then we could say things happened. Maybe. What's inside a black hole?
It was invented by Mr. Timex.
It was, wasn't it? That's right. Yeah, I remember buying that watch.
Yeah.
Mr. Accurist.
Yeah.
What's inside a black hole? Are we alone?
Ooh.
Are we alone? Some fizzy ones here. Does sound travel faster in space?
Doesn't travel at all.
Doesn't travel at all. Nothing for to vibrate through.
That's an easy, quick one.
Okay. Galaxies look stationary, so why do scientists say that they rotate? Because they do rotate.
Over very, very long periods of millions of years.
Yeah, how long's well, our galaxy rotates once every
200
million, isn't it?
Round figure, 200 million?
200 to 250 million, something like that. Or depends what book you read.
Yeah. Some of these might flow into one of our next programs. How do space probes make it past the asteroid belt without crashing into asteroids? Star Wars and all those sci-fi.
Oh, they ain't back dense.
Exactly, yeah. It ever believe that we're flying in between them, and it's a highway of wrong keyboard, lots of laughs. What's he doing?
Well, going back to the galaxy rotation, as I think we discussed before, it'd be mostly the redshift, won't they?
Yeah, that's right. You'd have blue shift and red
away
shift
from you on one side, and there'll be blue shifted on the other side. So you can even tell which way it's rotating and all that. So
yeah. Another question: How does a supernova completely destroy a star? I don't think it destroys completely.
It doesn't.
You're always left with something.
The core remains.
Okay, that's something that we could maybe discuss at some point. Okay, so are you up for any of them at all? Anything in particular?
I'll listen.
Well, I'm like you, Kath. I'll listen. I can cheat because I'm reading the question.
Yeah.
You know the answers. Yeah.
There's people that can answer it better than me.
I'm hoping to learn the answer. Let's be honest. What's Peter saying? Peter's just replied to me, wrong keyboard. I don't know what he's on about. What's he on about?
Oh dear.
I'll just send a question mark to him. What are you on about? There we go. There we go. This is the fun part, Dafydd. We just meander and chatting in between when the tracks are on, and a little bit of a heads up what we're going to be doing. So yeah, we normally have questions coming in from our listeners. You probably have heard somewhere along the line. We have over 250,000 listeners out there, covering Japan, Russia, where else? Yeah, Iran Astronomical Society as well.
Yeah,
yeah. The Antarctic ice stations, they listen in. So quite far, and you're going to have some visitors coming into your place. I tell you, better get them mugs all ready.
I better get those road signs translated.
Oh my goodness! Well, I can't understand them. I don't understand them as it is. All I know is the one is slow down. Arf, slow down. That's the one.
Dim parkio.
What's that one?
No parking.
No parking.
I was going to say, I know it's no parking.
We don't listen. We don't bother that one. Yeah.
I think at this rate was open a translate.
Have we got any messages to answer tonight?
Yeah, we got quite a few. Some of the deep ones as well. So we'll put our panel onto this and they get their brains working, I think. So the first one is, what is dark matter and what is dark energy?
Right. These two together.
We'll throw that one in for Andy.
Well, we have covered the dark matter in the recent questions, but if we could just recap slightly on dark matter and then go straight into the dark energy.
Yes. Dark matter is a form of matter that cannot be detected directly. It does not emit, nor absorb, nor react with electromagnetic radiation of any kind. So it's not like the normal stuff of atoms and protons and neutrons and all that. We know it's there because it has a gravitational effect, and it only interacts with normal matter gravitationally, and it's responsible for the rotation curves of galaxies, amongst other things. It makes up a fairly big percentage of the matter in the universe, but we do not know what it is. So that's very much a hot topic. I was reading recently that dark matter is expected to be identified within the next 10 years, but equally I remember reading that 10 years ago. So it's one of those ongoing conundrums in astrophysics. We don't know what dark matter is made of. It's not made of normal particles, but it has a gravitational effect on galaxies, galaxy clusters, and so on. So that's dark matter.
Yeah, with the dark matter, they've actually... It's a strange stuff. It really is strange stuff. They have recently found altogether, I think it's 3 galaxies which are quite diffused, but they've got clusters of stars which are associated with a galaxy and are still gravitationally hooked to the galaxies and all that. And the only way that can happen is by the effect of dark matter.
Right.
So that they're so far away, but they are still interacting through the gravity. And the only way it can do it is by this imaginary force, which is dark matter.
And they've also discovered a galaxy that seems to be made up of 90% dark matter.
Yeah, and at the other end, they found galaxies which are devoid of dark matter, they think.
Yeah, but we have to say that most large galaxies, most, not all, most large galaxies contain dark matter.
Yeah.
But why some galaxies don't, it's just one of those questions that hasn't been
answered. It's one of the mysteries of this mystery stuff. It's something that I think we've discussed this before, that there's physics out there that we don't understand, and maybe we'll never understand it. But with Gaia, with all the information coming from all the data that's been downloaded, maybe we'll get some answers. We never know. But watch this space. That's all I can say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Another question before we go into anything deeper, and the question about SpaceX. What's the latest news? Because we're waiting for these launches and nothing seems to be happening.
Yeah.
What's going on?
About 3 hours ago, and it hasn't been confirmed universally yet, but about 3 hours ago, there's been an announcement that the FAA have finally approved SpaceX's license to launch their Starships, and therefore the test well, they've approved it between today and Wednesday, so we could see a launch of SN9 tomorrow. The other interesting thing that SpaceX announced tonight was that once SN9 and SN10 have done their solo test flights, they're going to launch a mission where they're going to launch them both at the same time, and they're going to dock and transfer fuel between the two, which is an integral part of the whole Starship program, the ability to do that. Because if you launch a Starship to Mars, once it gets to Earth orbit, it's out of fuel, so they need another Starship to come up and refuel it before it sets off for Mars. So they're going to run the first test of refueling, which is amazing. Apparently and again, this is unconfirmed, I must stress, what the FAA were upset about was that during the SN8 crash in December, a large piece of wreckage measuring 4 meters by 4 meters flew off into the air, crossed the Rio Grande 2 kilometers away, and plowed itself into the ground in Mexico. And this is what the FAA were a little concerned about, apparently. And it was quite funny because somebody said, well, look, the US government classes Starship as a ballistic missile, and private space companies aren't allowed to export ballistic missile technology to other countries. So inadvertently, SpaceX did this by slamming a piece of wreckage into Mexico. But I hasten to add that's not confirmed.
Avoiding border controls, exactly.
Exactly. You've got to build your border controls a bit taller.
Well, let's hope they get everything in place before they start launching stuff and get it all.
Send them a VAT bill.
Yeah. Okay. Did we complete our question on dark energy? Did we finish? I think I may have interrupted too soon there.
Daz, do you want to take dark energy?
And I'll leave it to you because you did a nice little presentation earlier last week.
Oh, right. Okay. Well,
can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Yes.
Being on the boss.
Well, we can't argue with that.
David just asked if he could have a Welsh song. David, what I'm going to do for you, especially for you tonight, we're going to finish the show with the Welsh national anthem.
Oh, fantastic!
Okay, if you know the words, everyone can join in. David is standing up now. There he goes.
We haven't played it. We're not playing it yet.
Yeah, but he's just practicing. He's just getting ready. He's enthusiastic and excited. It's just
you see that was a total eclipse.
Andy, carry on.
Ron, did you want to take dark energy?
No, I'll leave that one to you.
Okay. Right.
Don't fight over it. Come on.
After the Big Bang, the universe obviously was expanding, and as the universe cooled and its energy concentration lessened, the expansion slowed down. Now, I have to stress the Big Bang was not an explosion. It's frequently portrayed as an explosion. It was not an explosion by any stretch of the imagination. But the analogy is if something explodes, as the debris gets further away, it slows down. And that's what you would normally expect. And that's what was expected from the Big Bang. And that happened. The expansion of the universe was slowing down until about 6 billion years after the Big Bang. And then something happened, and we have no idea what. And the expansion of the universe started accelerating again, and it's still accelerating. What have we got? 12 some billions of years later. We don't know. So this mysterious force that is pushing the universe apart at an ever faster rate has been called dark energy. Dark as in unknown, not dark anything to do with light. Scientists have no idea what dark energy is. They've no idea what's causing it. Again, like dark matter, this is, completely unknown physics. And somebody suggested recently, it would be really sad if it's something that humans are incapable of understanding, that is so far beyond our comprehension that we will never know what it is. Why should we expect that we will get to know everything about the universe and understand everything? I hope it's not like that, because us as humans, as scientists, believe that we can understand everything given enough time and enough data and enough clever people. So that is dark energy. It's the force that is causing the expansion of the universe to accelerate. There you are.
An accelerated rate, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems strange,
happens,
like you said, that it wasn't present and then it just appeared. It was
yeah, so something must have happened, and scientists talk in terms of a phase transition. And an example of a phase transition is water turning to ice. You've got one state of matter that transitions into another. And they think it's something akin to that, although, you know, we don't know what, and I certainly don't understand all the physics behind it and never claim to. But one day perhaps we'll know, but nobody knows when that is. There are new telescopes. There's a dark energy telescope, lots of projects going on to try and nail down the nature of dark energy, or at least ascribe some properties to it that we can, apart from the accelerating expansion, that we can actually measure, that we might get an inkling of what's causing this, or what caused it 6 billion years after the Big Bang. But to think that the whole behavior of the universe, literally overnight, we think, changed the whole universe, must have been something pretty major. But what that could be, who knows?
One of the things that has happened in the past, and it may require it again, is a lot of these major shifts in our understanding have been linked to major developments in mathematics. So Newton's laws of motion and calculus happened at the same time. Relativity and its associated theories, it was the development of tensor calculus that enabled that to progress. And it could be we're in a similar situation. We need some new mathematics.
That's a very good point, Ron.
Yeah.
Also, it's said that what we also need is another Einstein. We need somebody with the intellect to pull these disparate threads together to understand what's going on, which is exactly what Einstein did with relativity.
Yeah, Fred Flintstone there's pointing at himself.
Is that the guy with the old Nokia phone?
Yeah. As Ron was saying, that we need a new mathematics probably to sort it out. It must be mentioned that, and it's not one of my favourite theories, and I know others have got the same opinion. You've got MOND, which is modified Newtonian dynamics, and it's by changing the values of some of the in the equations, they think they could actually explain away the which is no need for dark matter to actually exist, and they can explain away what's being seen. But to me, that's like a politician manipulating statistics to fit his argument.
Yeah.
So they could be right. We don't know, but until some of these things all come together, and then there's a light bulb moment from somebody who's very special, then maybe we should be able to work out what these things are.
Well, as far as I can understand it, Daz, MOND can explain individual rotation curves of galaxies, but it cannot explain gravity in galaxy clusters. I don't know whether that's still the case, but that was always the case when they had no answers to how galaxy clusters, the individual galaxies and clusters interact with each other through dark matter. They had no answer to that.
It's one of these things where you sit either side of the fence. You can't sit on the fence sort of thing.
No, that's right. That's right.
It's but of course with the expansion, I mean, not trying to be a doomsayer, but they think with the expansion that that possible dark matter is being created to fill the space. Because if there is nothing filling the space as we expand, there's also then the theory that you'll get the great tear, where the actual fabric of space will tear and we will all blink out. We won't know nothing about it. But it's just one of these things. You can, as you expand out of it, it's good. So just remember, if you hear something tearing,
it's the universe.
Yeah, you haven't got to pay back them debts.
Okay, so what came before the Big Bang? If the Big Bang just happened, what was there before the Big Bang?
Nothing.
So time didn't exist because there was nothing.
So I think anybody. Sorry, I'm not trying to butt in. Anybody else want to take this question?
I'm just seeing what Sam's holding the book up. The end of everything.
The end of everything. That's where the
Simon. What is that book?
It's Katie Mack's wonderful book about how it could possibly happen, whether we get torn apart, whether we go squelch, or whether we just go into a sort of an energy death.
Yeah.
If we pop out of existence,
happy reading.
It sounds lovely. If we pop out of existence, can we not pop up in another bubble in another universe?
Exactly.
Preferably in a bar.
In a bar with a good bar with dark skies with the Milky Way visible, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there is the theory that at the beginning, that as Andy was saying about the expansion, is that the expansion happened because of a tear from another universe. You know, so and then matter and that's leaked out, and that's how it all started. It's people with a lot of time on their hands trying to think up ways of trying to explain how these things happened, and that would explain sort of an expansion from a small tear in another universe that then closed, and we've just carried on expanding, and matters made itself.
See, the problem with asking what was before the Big Bang, as far as we can make out, time itself started at the Big Bang. I think you have to define what you're really saying. Time only exists relative to events happening in the universe. If you have nothing happening, if there are no events at all, there can be no time, because time is a measure of an interval between events happening in the universe. It's not something external, this mysterious entity that exists on its own called time. It only exists relative to events. If there were no events, there was no time, which is why we say time started at the Big Bang. Now, if you ask what was before that, you're asking about negative time, which is a nonsensical concept. It's like asking what's north of the North Pole. You know, it's the question just doesn't make any sense, as far as we know, but that's the current thinking.
So very heavy. I tend to follow the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's my knowledge, I think. And it makes my life fun as well.
I reread that not so long ago, Dave, and I hadn't read it for years.
Sorry, Rob.
And it's still funny. I mean,
it is. I do like
the lines are coming up, but it's still funny.
I think there's a lot to be said for the idea that physics started whenever or whatever the Big Bang was, and before that, we've no idea.
No. And whatever, if you can talk about it before, which, as I said, isn't really a meaningful question, it's left no evidence in this universe because it was under different laws, if there were laws, because at the moment of the Big Bang, or very shortly afterwards, the laws of physics came into being, all the forces came into being. So it's a bit meaningless to ask what there was before that, because, you know, it has absolutely no relevance in this universe, and there's no evidence that it ever existed. So we will never know, I suspect.
I think myself, I think it sounds daft, a godsend really to have not knowing what's before the Big Bang, because when I go into primary schools, one of the questions I often get asked is about God. And I had this a lot in Cornwall when I did the Cornish schools, kids asking me about God. And do you think there's a God, sir? And all this sort of stuff. And I always say, if we go back to the Big Bang, I says, we know what's happened from there on. I says, if we go back to the Big Bang, I said, all bets are off. And then it gets me off the hook, really, because I can take them back to that. And then I kind of say, well, who knows from that point? Because nobody knows. So nobody can answer the question. So I can then get myself off hook, because it's a very difficult one. Because I did do a talk in one school where I did approach the subject. They asked me and I approached the subject from my understanding, scientific understanding, and I actually did get quite a snotty letter from a parent. So you have to be very, very careful on how you deal with that question when it's posed. In primary schools, children, they ask you all sorts of
I know
questions.
I've been there.
I've had that myself as well. I think I tend to take the approach, if the universe is created by a god, then it must have created physics as well, because everything works with the physics.
Well, that's it. That's when you go
back to the beginning. We don't know before that, and
it gets you off the hook. Then
that's when physics became.
Pete, what I find most amazing about that story you just told is that the kids called you sir.
They always do.
Sir Pete.
And I always say, no, call me Pete, and they go, okay, sir.
Sir Pete.
The last one I did at our local school, all the kids wanted my autograph, and I was amazed. And it turned out there'd been a miscommunication from between languages, and the kids thought they were getting an astronaut to talk to them. They thought it was an astronaut.
I've had that.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah. When did you go to the moon, sir?
That's right. That's right.
I haven't been to the moon.
Yeah.
Well, teacher said you're a spaceman.
Yeah. They all seem to think I work for NASA. I wasn't going to disillusion them, actually. I played along with it.
How much did you charge for the autographs, Andy?
50 euros, of course.
That's well. An astronaut has got to make a living.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's fair, isn't it, Roger?
Not much of a job market for retired astronauts, after all.
Don't
Tesco's or something.
Don't start me on astronauts and prices they charge for autographs. I'll get annoyed.
Yeah.
I mean,
tell us that story another day.
Yeah, one of them is not with us anymore, but he charged me £20 for the book and £40 to sign it.
Oh.
Was that Al Warden?
Yeah.
Well, I got a copy. I got a copy of the book. I had it signed, and I had several private autographs given to me. In front of me there, and
I said
pride and joy.
Yeah, I mean, I got loads of stuff off Neil Armstrong because I knew Neil Armstrong. Yeah. But Al Warden wasn't having it.
I'd argue with I wouldn't argue with Al Warden. That's for certain.
Well,
or Buzz Aldrin.
He wouldn't put up much of an argument these days.
Yeah.
But anyway,
okay. I think we're coming towards the end of the show this for this evening.
We got about 7 minutes left. So
yeah, we've got enough. Another question or so. So, does sound travel faster in space?
It doesn't travel at all.
So why does it not travel at all then, Andy?
Because sound needs a medium to travel through.
And we're not talking Doris Stokes here, are we?
But sound is made up of sound waves. Sound waves have to travel through something, and there's no air, no nothing in space. So forget what you see in rubbish like Star Wars and Star Trek, all those space battles with explosions and things. Explosions are another thing that can't happen in space because there's no oxygen. But no, there's no sound in space. It is completely silent.
I think I'm disillusioned now.
That's trash. Yeah, that's trash.
Yeah, so it's just basically what you're saying. Sci-fi, Star Wars, it's a load of rubbish. You can't hear the explosions. Yeah. So the next thing you're going to tell me. Well, the next thing he's going to be saying is you can't, with the asteroid belt, you can't fly through the asteroid belts and dodge them. And
if you were to stand on an average asteroid, the nearest one would be millions of miles away. You wouldn't even see it. So this, like Star Wars, they fly through asteroid fields where all the asteroids are virtually touching each other. Never happened. Never happened. So that's just science fantasy.
But we got David doing his Star Wars battle scene.
Oh, hang on. Solo, eat your heart out.
Everyone's having a go.
They're coming in too fast. They're coming in too fast.
That's great, David. That's
brilliant. Can I just say one thing?
Only one.
Go on.
I've been quiet for too long. I'm getting a bit of withdrawal symptoms.
Well, go on. Yeah, have a go.
I want to try and teach you some Welsh tonight, if possible.
Oh, no. All right.
Okay. So I put a list there in the chat. So I want you to repeat after me. That's all.
Okay.
Is that okay? Everybody try. Yeah. So the Welsh word for night is nos.
Nos.
The Welsh word for star is seren. Seren. Quite a few people are called seren. And the Welsh word for moon is lleuad.
Lleuad. Say that again slowly.
Lleuad.
Oh, lleuad.
I just want to spell. Have a sip at the same time. Okay, I'm just going to spell that for those listeners out there.
This is the great one. My favourite aspect of the night sky is the Milky Way. So,
my goodness.
Does anybody know what the Milky Way is in Welsh, by the way?
Milky Way.
No. I'm trying to read it.
Listen carefully.
We're listening.
I shall say this only once.
Right.
It's Llwybr Lleithog.
Llwybr Lleithog.
Ron.
Come on, Ron.
Ron, you said that without moving your lips.
Ron, you have a go.
I think I made him smile there. Or was it a bit of wind?
A bit of both. I just like the spelling is amazing.
And the Welsh word for camera is camera.
Camera.
Not that one.
I tell you,
Peter, I've got to ask this question before I forget. What is the Welsh for microwave? As in microwave oven. What is the microwave?
Popsy ping.
Yeah,
that's got to be a joke.
It depends where you bought it from.
Rumbelows, usually Rumbelows.
If you bought it from Argos, it's Microdon. If you bought it from John Lewis, it's Popty Ping.
There we are. Told you.
That's got to be a joke.
But it was funny. We have a friend, and she was round here. She's speaking to her mum on the phone, and she was gabbling away in Welsh. I hadn't got a clue what she was in, but we sussed one bit. She was going whatever it was, and we couldn't understand. And then she went, tin of biscuits. So we gathered she was talking about a tin of biscuits.
And apparently, so my sister tells me from living in Pembrokeshire that the Welsh for jellyfish is peth wibbly wobbly.
Wibbly wobbly.
Yeah.
Wibbly wobbly, peth
Peth,
wibbly wobbly.
which is fish, and wibbly wobbly. But that's probably a joke.
Yeah.
Is that right, David? Is it peth wibbly wobbly? Jellyfish?
Yeah, we don't get many in the Cambrian Mountains.
I don't want any outside my glamping pod, you know.
Yeah, we can arrange that if you want.
I'm just envisaging Tian sitting out there in Japan with what the heck's going on here.
I've had a message from. I've got hundreds of messages tonight from people all around the world saying, "What the hell is he talking about?"
Oh dear! Come to Wales and find out.
They said the best thing we can find. They said we're all coming to the Cambrian Mountains just to try and understand what it's all about.
There you go.
So Kath
is the only person I know that can make the words glamping pod sound erotic.
Glamping.
And then Kath, say it again.
Glamping pod.
Oh, works for me. Works for me.
Works every time.
Right, let's move on from this bit.
Moving swiftly on.
Filter out all the emails that come in for me, Pete. Won't you? The suitable people.
Have we got time for one more question, Pete?
One more question. Go on. Yeah.
Okay, Andy, gang. Let's see if we can get our heads around this one. How does a supernova completely destroy a star? Well, it doesn't.
Okay, it doesn't.
No.
Will that do?
That's the answer. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
So what happens? A star annihilates itself to a certain degree.
Yeah.
It could make stars nearby go popty ping.
Yeah.
And then you would detect the microwave radiation from that. Of course.
It's a pie.
Yeah. No, it doesn't destroy the whole of the star. The core remains, which will either then collapse directly into the black hole or become a neutron star. Very, very, very briefly, the star starts to collapse. A shock wave travels to the core. It rebounds off the core, travels back out of the star, and blows the outer layers of the star apart, leaving the core. There we are.
Thanks for finishing my answer, Andy. Well done.
That's all right, darling.
That's exactly what I was going to say, but I was going to say I was going to say it in Welsh, but I don't need to now. So
anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining us on the show tonight. It's been a very interesting one for people around the world trying to actually determine what Dafydd was talking about. But we do know we will do. I mean, somebody asked last night if we're going to do subtitles. I think. So thank you everybody for around the world for joining us tonight here on Astro Radio. Thanks you for Dafydd for joining us on Astro Radio. He's waving. He's got his Welsh flag on ready. I know he won't hear it. Well, he'll hear it.
The dragon.
He'll hear it on the replay. He'll hear. We're going to leave you tonight. We'll be back on Thursday, and we'll announce which guest on Thursday next week. Catherine is trying to get one of the meteorite men to come onto the show, so hopefully that will happen next week. But in the meantime, thank you very much. Good night. And this is the Welsh National Anthem.
Where are we?
That's a wrap.
Okay. I swear when Kath said glamping, I heard another button pop off of Dafydd's pajamas.
I was wondering where that was going.
I'll be able to keep a tight rein on this.
Honestly, Thank God I went and got a top up of gin is all I'm going to say.
Hey, Kath,
Trouble is, I've only had water. I could have done with a large gin.
Ron, I would never cope with this show if I just had water. I don't think I'd cope.
Fantastic.
Oh.
David, please come back and see us again soon.
I tell you what,